Hello and welcome to the Q&A for November the 22nd. My name's Morag from the Permaculture Education Institute. Today's topic is all about mulch. Jeannie from New Zealand was asking about how I managed to not have my mulch sprouting. And so I wanted to just chat about all different sorts of mulch because, it's one of the things you really don't want to be introducing anything that's going to end up causing you more problems and making more work for you and introducing weeds into your system that weren't there before. So I'm just going to run through a few of the different sorts of mulches that you might come across. But before I do, I just wanted to mention too that, you've heard me speak a lot in previous times about growing your own mulch. So as much as possible, if you can do that, growing, different sorts of legumes or herbs or various sorts of tree crops. So, I'm just looking at my window now and I can see different sorts of things from irises to pigeon peas to even sort of banana leaves, the comfreys and cannas and lemongrass and acacias. And there's so many different things that you can actually use from within your system that can be chop and drop mulch. Maybe there's sort of autumn leaf fall or any sorts of materials like that you can stockpile and utilize as your own mulch rather than having to bring in mulch from outside. But inevitably, we quite often do this. So what are the different sorts that are available? So firstly, I just wanted to make a differentiation between hay and straw and all those different sorts of things. So firstly, hay. Hay is essentially the entire plant that's harvested, which includes the seed head, and it's often used as feed because it has that extra nutrition in it. But what happens as soon as it starts to get moist, it will sprout. And so you can see in the picture here, sorry, it's a bit pixelated, that, there's this bale that's starting to sprout. I mean, yes, you can harvest those sprouts and put them back down into your system. That's okay. But, it's better not to have to do that if you don't necessarily need to. Although, it depends on what you can find locally. I remember when I was doing some work in Indonesia and we were trying to find some mulch to make this garden bed and it was rice straw, which was what was available. And we gathered up all this material and we laid out, and then a few weeks later we noticed it all started to sprout. And it's going to happen at different times. But really, I encourage you to all go and see if you can find in your local area, in your local produce stores, in your local hardwares, gardening stores, wherever it might be, to find what are the different sources of mulch that are available to you and what is just the most hardiest, simplest, weed-free and hopefully chemical-free mulch that you can put onto your garden if you need extra, if you can't grow your own. Straw, on the other hand, from hay. So you think horses eat hay, H&H, that's sort of, gives you that sort of a reminder cue about that the hay actually has the seeds in it. Straw is stalks, SS. Straw is stalks. So this is the stuff that's used for bedding, and it's the really good stuff for mulch because it doesn't have the seed heads in it. On the other hand, one of the things in my pictures you might have seen that I use are just local bales of perennial grass hay. So we have around us farmers who actually have fields where they allow the grass to grow, just perennial grass. So there's no tilling and seeding and pulling plants out of there's no digging involved in this. It's all simply just perennial grasses that grow by themselves, and they harvest these and before they start flowering and seeding, and they aim to try and manage it so there are no thistles in and amongst the field too. Every now and then you do find some, and that's okay. You can just gently pull them out. But really, if you do find a perennial grass hay from a local farmer, maybe try and find a way. Just check it out first to see the quality of it, that you're not going to be introducing weeds into your area. Now, what we do here is we actually bulk order from a local farmer. There's a man up the end of the road here in Crystal Waters who has for years ordered a whole truckload. He gets it delivered to his place. So the farmer gets the full entire money. He doesn't have to split it by selling it to a shop and, the paying, the middleman type of thing. He gets the full amount of money for it, which is great for them. So he's getting the best value out of his, out of his field. And here within our neighbourhood, we have a source of hay that we can pop over and grab a couple of bales, when we need them, and we just pay that directly to the guy who has the stockpile, which is excellent. And so, if there's some way of organising some kind of collaborative neighbourhood sourcing of hay in your area, or straw, grass, mulch material, that's wonderful. So really just try and avoid anything that might have been sprayed or got chemicals in it, and see if you can work collaboratively. Now, people often ask me about lucerne. It is a beautiful material, yes, of course, and it's very, it's got extra nutrient value in it, but it's actually a high quality protein feed. It's a legume, it's alfalfa, and I really think that if you were to use this, you would use it underneath your mulch, because it has so much value in it that you don't want it just being exposed and degraded by, direct access to the sunlight. It's something that you want to go into the soil. Probably not as a mulch. I would not be using this as a top mulch, top dressing. Top dressing is just basic dry material that's going to last a long time and protect the soil and the materials underneath it, and try and suppress weeds as well. So lucerne's good in the way that it is cut before it seeds. There's another pea straw, which is a legume, that is dry material, which you might think, okay, well, I'll go for that. But the pea straw has the pea pods in it, a lot of pea pods in it, and you just watch it sprout as soon as you put it down. I would suggest that maybe for a top dressing mulch, avoid the pea straw and the lucerne hay. If you wanted to get a great big garden of peas growing, maybe this is the simplest way. You put down a pea straw, bale and water, and voila, there is your pea garden. But another product that is very easily accessible in and around Queensland anyway, and many parts of sort of eastern Australia, and I'm not sure in other parts of the world there's probably something else that you can access, but it's sugarcane. So I would be looking for organic sugarcane products. Generally it's shredded very finely. There's two different sorts that we can access here. There is the sort of the more coarsely shredded material, which is at the top, which I prefer because it lasts longer, it doesn't blow away so much, and it isn't packaged in plastic. It just has the strings tied around it, which you can reuse in the garden as garden ties and trellis making things. The bagged ones, which are probably the most available ones, are much more finely shredded, and this is good if you're wanting to put it on little pots, fine plants, or just in and around lettuces and things like that. But it blows away easily in bigger sections until your plants kind of grow up and sort of suppress it there. So the other thing is it's quite dusty too, which is something you need to look out for all of the mulch materials, the dry mulch material that's been sitting around somewhere for a while. It might have mold spores in it, and it's most certainly going to have dust and grassy sort of, seeds and things in it too, one would think. So just be careful if you have any kind of asthma issues or anything, and make sure everyone actually to stand upwind, so you allow any dust to go away from you. So while I am using anything like this finely shredded sugarcane, I would always just be watering it down quite quickly so that it helps it to stick together and not get blown away, but it also suppresses the dust in it. But there's nothing really you can do with that plastic bag. You tend to actually have to really rip at them to get the material out because it's so compacted. I mean, you really do get double the amount that you see because it is so tightly pushed into that. But there's not much you can do with that plastic afterwards. It just ends up in landfill. So anyway, there's a few different things from the grass hays to the perennial grasses to the straw, sugarcane, and the lucerne. So as I said before, see what you can grow yourself or source in your local neighbourhood, and then try and find the most locally sourced material that you can find in your neighbourhood, something that's not contaminated with chemicals or roadside leaf fall that might have been contaminated by car pollutants. So put your mulch glasses on and go and see what you can find in and around your local neighbourhood that's seed-free and chemical-free and abundant. So thanks for joining me. It's time to think about more questions. Send them to me at Morag at permacultureeducationinstitute.org and with the subject Q&A. And I look forward to hearing from you. See you next time.